Is it the best video game console of all time? Kidding me? You're kidding me right now. 1,000 of them? 1,000. 1,000 needles. That's ridiculous. You know you're ridiculous. You are. Old school game systems. Not everybody plays old school video games, but recently I was taking a look through my comments and this one stuck out to me right here. From Pip-de-Pap. Pip-de-Pap! I like that name. I was thinking of getting a retro console, old school console, but which one should I get? Which one? He even put an exclamation point at the end of the sentence, so you know he's serious. Since I grew up with older video game consoles, it's hard to think about a person's first experience with old school gaming. So looking over my collection of consoles and gaming paraphernalia, I started to think about this bad boy right here, and right there. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System. A system of entertainment and superness, and Nintendo made it. The name makes sense. And is that a spider? There's a spider in my game room. Made! I do not have a video game made, if only that's the dream. What? What is this happening? Just focus, stay on the topic. So the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Here's why I think the Super Nintendo Entertainment System is the perfect console to start your old school gaming. Is it the best video game console of all time? Probably not, maybe, to some people, but that's not what I'm even talking about. The SNES, the SNES, the SNES, I think is the best introduction into retro, old school gaming. And I've even got reasons to back that up. Let's go through some of those reasons. My first reason, the graphics. Now, someone who's been playing modern game systems is probably used to a certain level of quality in their high-res gaming. If you're gonna go all the way down to the Atari level, probably not a good baseline to start with. You're gonna be like, what is this? I can't even understand what I'm looking at. Blocks and bloops and blippity blops. That was the Atari motto. Blips and blops and bloopity blips. The SNES has 16-bit graphics, so it's a little bit better than the Atari, a little bit better than the NES. And honestly, there are some beautiful looking games on the Super Nintendo. So if you can handle at least the 2D nature of some old school games, then I think you'll be fine with the Super Nintendo. Now I'm going to pull out an obvious reason why the Super Nintendo is a great starter for those of you who are getting into old school gaming. The games, specifically. The Super Nintendo library has some of the best games of all time. Some of my favorites of all time are on the Super Nintendo. I mean, you've got some classics, like Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday. Not really. Let's look at some actual great games. From the RPG era on the Super Nintendo, we've got Final Fantasy 2 and 3. Really, though, they're 4 and 6. This is not a video about the naming of Final Fantasy games. But these two games right here are some of the best in the Final Fantasy series before it kind of got into the 3D realm. So those are awesome RPGs. Mega Man saw a transition into the X series, and I always loved the Mega Man X games. I actually preferred them to the original on the NES. And there's tons of other classics besides just Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars. There's Super Mario Kart, which is my favorite in the series of the Mario racing games. Love this game. And Super Metroid, you know, that's a classic. Everybody should play it. Great action platforming. Let's take control of the situation. Maybe we can talk about some controllers, because I think the Super Nintendo is one of the best old-school controllers. They introduced that dog bone shape, nice and rounded, fits good in your hand, which, in fact, Nintendo went back and looked at the NES controller, and they released a dog bone controller for the Nintendo because of the success of the Super Nintendo controller, I'm guessing. And this is actually my preferred controller when I'm playing the NES. Prefer it. The SNES controller introduced more buttons, so you could have more complicated gameplay. Shoulder buttons happening. Shoulder buttons. Brush those shoulders off. Brush those shoulders off. So the Super Nintendo controller, another great reason that the Super Nintendo is a great system to get into retro gaming. Old school. Old school. You know, after saying retro video games for so long, it's hard to correct yourself and say old school, which I've said before. Old school gaming is what it actually should be, because retro describes a modern thing that has a retro feel to it, a vintage feel. Vintage games, old school. I'm off topic again. Moving on. The sound of the Super Nintendo is something I've always loved. The soundtracks on the Super Nintendo, that 16-bit sound. Some people may prefer the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive system when it comes to audio. I have an ear for the Super Nintendo, and there's some amazing soundtracks on the Super Nintendo. Let's just take a listen. Let's stop that and move on. Let's get to the hard stuff, the hardware. Talking about hardware. This thing right here is a fine piece of machinery. Fine piece of machinery right here. And let me tell you why. Because it did the top loading. Top loading cartridges. That's just smart. The NES is terrible when it comes to loading cartridges, and you gotta fix that little pin connector, the 72 pin connector in the NES. Oh, but the Super Nintendo got it right from the start. Top loading cartridges. You want to play a little Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Turtles in Time, one of the best beat-em-up games of all time. Then there, the cartridge is in, the power is on, you're playing. Except you got to hook it up to a television. This is not. Obviously, there's much less hardware malfunction with the Super Nintendo than the other systems from the old school era that I own. So that's why I would recommend it for someone who's just starting out. You don't want to be frustrated by blowing into cartridges and cleaning cartridges and wiggling pin connectors. Nobody has time for that. Nobody. And one more quick side note about what you can do with the Super Nintendo. There's tons of adapters that can let you play other game systems on your Super Nintendo. So why get those when you can get this? I mean, as a quick example, you can get this thing right here. This bad boy plugs right into this bad boy. Like that. And now, you're able to play NES, Famicom, Super Nintendo, and Super Famicom games all on your Super Nintendo Entertainment System. So it's putting more systems in your hands, so you can try more video games. Now, there's even Genesis or Mega Drive adapters that you can also get for Super Nintendo, so you can play those games on your Super Nintendo. Just let the Super Nintendo power all of your old school gaming needs. So that's why I think the Super Nintendo is one of the best old school video game systems that you can start playing games with right now. Go out there, find one, eBay it, find it at a yard sale, do what you gotta do, but this is a great system to start with. Hope that answered your question, and I hope somebody else out there got something out of this video. I'll talk to you later. Game Dave is out! These consoles are $400, $500. That's insane. In these hard financial times, you need some relief, and old school gaming can give you that much needed relief.